The centre-left looks on course to win Italy's election despite a remarkable surge by Silvio Berlusconi. Joining me now to examine the likely outcome and the market impact, Giuseppe Ragusa, professor at Luis Guido Carli University in Rome, James Bevan, Chief Investment Officer, CCLA Investment Management from the London Stock Exchange, and Michael Metcalf, Head of Macro Strategy, State Street. Welcome to all of you. Giuseppe, let me start with you. Is anyone seriously betting on a Berlusconi comeback?
I don't think he's seriously betting on Berlusconi comeback. I think people are seriously betting on Berlusconi tie the race and having, for this reason, a parliament who doesn't have a majority is not going to be a strong majority. I think that's the main worry of the people from the street, but also from economic agents. The worry is really that the Italian parliament is going to be gridlock, is not going to be able to pursue the reforms that Italy really need in order to go by this terrible economic moment.
And how likely, Giuseppe, is that gridlock if we get a Bersani-Monti tie-up?
It's probably not very likely. I would say a 20% likelihood. Now, as you know, in Italy, for the last 15 days before the election, polls are not going to be available. So in the last 15 days, everything can happen, and we are not going to have a clear sense of what's going on. I will say it's very unlikely. Still, is not improbable. So maybe we're going to have a 20% chance of a gridlock.
All right, James, markets have been pretty calm heading into this market. What are you telling your clients on how to play this now?
Well, we're quite nervous, inevitably, after the recent rise, and we're trying to stick to quality stocks, so names like UniCredit and Eni, and also Fiat Industrial. We think those are companies that can ride the storm. But we should make no mistake, we have to see the continuation of the Monti reforms. We need to take the red tape away. We need to encourage foreign direct investment, and any sign that that agenda is going to be derailed, I think we'll see the market move materially lower.
Michael, time to book profit on the 6-month rally in peripheral debt?
You know, I actually think that markets have reacted very calmly, and that even the remote, albeit remote possibility that the Berlusconi would be involved in government, I think that kind of news in 2011 and 2012 would have had yields 100, 150 basis points high. Now, obviously, we've had a correction, but I think that the fact that the correction has been modest, and the fact that actually Berlusconi is only a slight possibility, to me suggests that investors are giving Italy the benefit of the doubt, and that actually we might get a good outcome.
But are markets correctly pricing this risk in your view?
Oh, I don't think they're pricing any risk at all of Berlusconi coming back. I think so. Our starting assumption is that you get a Bersani-Monti coalition that actually might even have workable majorities in both houses. You get that kind of outcome. You get the continuation of the reforms. Italy fundamentally on the fiscal side, they're running a primary surplus of around 4% of GDP. It looks actually quite good compared to some of the core countries in Europe. So France, Netherlands, where there are also inflation threats. Actually, compared to those markets, Italy still looks good value to me.
Social cohesion's been such a big story. We spoke to Moritz Kramer from S&P yesterday. This is what the ratings agencies had to say on social cohesion, particularly in Italy.
The challenge really is to keep the social fabric together, because we need to understand these societies go through a severe crisis with high unemployment, falling living standards, and for large parts of the population, general hopelessness. So it's becoming more and more challenging as time goes by for policymakers to keep this strategy on track.
Giuseppe, who is best placed to keep this strategy on track, to keep the social cohesion going?
But this is the real challenge of even a majority with Bersani and Monti is going to try to address, is the lack of social compact. We speak about the fiscal compact, the monetary compact. The real problem in Italy right now is the absence of a social compact. There is a lack of social cohesion, and you see this lack of social cohesion in the many parties who are running, and all these parties are going to get a really sizable part of the vote, and this is going to generate. Probably we are not going to have technically a gridlock. Maybe a majority is going to be able to be formed in both houses, but it's going to be difficult to implement the reforms if there is not a social cohesion. It's going to be very difficult. I think parties should look at this challenge seriously and try to address how to really reconstruct a social compact.
Sure. James, you talk about your nervousness. If we get the Bersani-Monti tie-up that markets seem to want to get, what do you start piling into on the back of that?
Well, I think that's an incredible start, but we then do need to see a policy agenda as opposed to political parties being in charge that continues to unravel the extraordinary administrative layers that are required for companies to operate efficiently in Italy. So it's not really about unit wage costs, it's much more about the climate and infrastructure for business activity. Now, if we see signs that that's going ahead, then I do think that the banks are materially undervalued in a pan-European context, and it's a great area to be investing. But I also think there's some very good industrial and media companies which we'll be looking at very effectively.
How Finmeccanica, Saipem, Monte dei Paschi, all these scandals right now, how does this play into your thinking?
Well, absolutely, we have to have a very clear focus on corporate governance. But I do think that if you look at the activities of a giant like UniCredit, you can see a very clear balance sheet. You absolutely can trace profit and loss from top to bottom. You can fill it the accounts. Absolutely, you can see what's going on, and that gives me huge confidence.
Of course, Bersani's linked to Monte dei Paschi, though, right, Giuseppe?
Well,
go ahead, James.
Sorry.
Go ahead, James. Go ahead, James.
We have Mr. Draghi, obviously, at the centre of the whole issue as well. And therefore, it is going to be politically very difficult for the ECB, but also for the Italian government in getting rid of the scandals. But looking forward, I do think that one needs to differentiate between individual companies that have done things badly and companies that are great in the global context, and Italy has some of those.
Yeah, Giuseppe.
So I agree. I think that there is to realize that many of these scandals have to do with the lack of reform. I mean, many of the scandals of MPS are to do with the governance and the bad law that regulate Italian banking system. So when we speak about reforms, we don't only speak about fiscal reform, we also speak governance reform, and this is going to be an issue that has to be tackled seriously, the issue of governance of banking, so the banking system.
Michael, just to finish up with, market conditions have clearly improved under Monti, getting the debt away. Recently, there's been a number of successful issues. What happens if he's not part of the new government?
Oh, I mean, clearly it's bad news because that means Berlusconi likely his vote has improved dramatically since the last poll. But I think more than likely, Monti will be part of the new government in some way, albeit a Bersani-Monti coalition. And here's the thing about social cohesion, because this government is going to have a mandate. Monti never really had a mandate, and so I think assuming that he gets into the government in some way, then he's in an even stronger position in some sense. Okay, so he's not running the government, but he'll be a big part of it. But he has an actual mandate, a democratic mandate, and I think that's going to make a big difference. Now, obviously, we're going to need to see what the new government is going to do, and we're going to need to see the policy. But as I said, right now, even before the election, it was pretty clear that fixed income markets were giving the benefit of the doubt to Italy. I think, assuming they get a workable government with Monti included, they will continue to do that.
Okay, going to have to stop it there. My thanks to all of you. LUISS University's Giuseppe Ragusa, James Bevan from CCLA Investment Management, and to you, Michael Metcalf from State Street. That is it for now. I'm Axel Threlfall. This is Reuters.